This is lesson 7-6, example 1. Our objective is to learn to read and use map scales in regards to scale drawings. So maps are wonderful tools. They can be used to find locations. They can also be used to find distances too. And the key thing you want to look for on a scale map is, well, the scale, which is located right down here in this particular map. And if I take a ruler and I actually measure out that scale, this scale here, as you can see, the distance across here is 1 inch. What that means is our scale, we could say that that scale is 1 inch to 100 miles. And I can use this to determine distances within this map of what they would be in real life. So 1 inch on this map would be 100 miles in real life. So let's say I want to find the distance between Greystone and Clarkston. Well, I need a ruler, and I'm measuring in inches, so I want to make sure that I'm using the inches side of that ruler. And I'm going to turn my map here so you can see a little more easily. I'm going to measure between Greystone and Clarkston, and I'm looking from right in the middle of that dot in Greystone to the right in the middle of the dot in Clarkston, and that distance is 3 inches. Now, if I know that distance on the map, so the distance on the map is 3 inches. Well, this scale here is a ratio. As you can see, a ratio between 1 inch and 100 miles. And I can write that like this. 1 inch is to 100 miles. So there's my ratio. And I could set up a proportion now. 1 inch is to 100 miles as 3 inches, the distance between Greystone and Clarkston, is to some number of miles that we don't know yet, that we're trying to find out. So I'm going to say that's X miles. So this distance on the map is 3 inches. In real life, it's some number of miles that we're not sure. But we can use this proportion to figure that out. So I can use cross products with this proportion. And 1 times X is just X. And 3 times 100 is 300 miles. So X, this distance right here, is 300 miles. So my distance between Greystone and Clarkston, while 3 inches on the map, is 300 miles in real life. So let's look at another example here. Let's say we have a map, and the scale on that map is 4 inches to 1 mile. So here is our ratio. That's our ratio. And we could write that like this. We could write 4 inches is to 1 mile. And on our map, let's say we were measuring the distance again between two towns, town A and town B. And the distance on the map is 20 inches. Distance on the map is 20 inches. And we want to know the actual distance. We want to know how far is that in real life. So we can set up a proportion again. We can say 4 inches is to 1 mile as 20 inches is to some distance that we're trying to find out, some number of miles. And notice that I'm keeping the inches on the top and the miles on the bottom. So I'm keeping my units the same in the numerator and my units the same in the denominator. So here I can use cross products again. So 4 times X is 4X. And that will equal 20 times 1, which is 20. So 4x equals 20. Well, we want to get x by itself. So I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And I end up with x being 20 divided by 4 is 5. We're measuring in miles. So x equals 5 miles. So the distance on the map would be 20 inches. But because we know this scale, we know this ratio, 4 inches on the map is equal to 1 mile in real life, we can say that that distance of 20 inches on the map is equal to 5 miles in real life. Let's look at one more example here. Let's take a look. Let's say we have a map and the scale on the map is 3 inches on the map to 1 mile in real life. So here again is our ratio. This is our scale. And we're looking for distance to two cities again, but it could be anything. We could look for distance between mountains and rivers. We could look for distances between cities. We could look for distances between anything that's actually on that map. And we want to know, again, the actual distance, so real life. So we'll set up our proportion again using our scale. 3 inches is to 1 mile. And we'll create our proportion. 3 inches is to 1 mile as 18 inches on the map is to some number of miles in real life. Now you might be wondering, is it always 1 mile? Not always. Oftentimes on maps, they'll usually have something nice round number like 1 inch is equal to some number of miles, or 2 inches is equal to some number of miles, or they'll use a certain number of inches is equal to 1 mile or 2 miles. Most map makers tend to try and make pretty nice numbers for you to use, but that's not always the case. It doesn't have to be that way. But for this example, it makes it pretty nice. So we can use cross products again. 3 times x is 3x, and 18 times 1 is 18. We want to get x by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by 3, and x equals 6. We're measuring in miles, so x equals 6 miles. So that 18 inches on the map is equal to 6 miles in real life.